What's up, compressed air friends? Or as my Indian homies call me, the body Baha'i. I dig that, right? That's gonna stick. All right, so one of the things I have noticed just in working with less experienced technicians and just from a lot of the questions and things I get via DMs and stuff on LinkedIn, there seems to be a disconnect between how to find something on the wiring diagram versus what it actually is in the control cabinet. And that's a pretty vital thing to understand to be able to troubleshoot an air compressor. So what we're doing today is I've got a Y Delta starting system. I'm actually going to rebuild the starters on it, new contacts, new coils, stuff like that. So while I'm tearing into this, I'm going to show you guys what these representations are on the wiring diagram, what they correlate to in real life, and what these things actually do, zeroing in just on the starter today. So hope you guys enjoy. So we're looking at the wiring diagram for this machine. This is a Solaire SN5500 Synergy machine with Y Delta starting. And so right here is our main motor. And then we've got these three contactors for the Y Delta starting. I will do a video on Y Delta at some point, but not today. So what we're looking at here, if we zoom in, let's just zoom in and then just look at the run starter here. Some will call this 2M, some will call it the run starter, whatever you want to call it. Let's just zoom in on this real quick because it's one of the more accessible ones on this machine. So we look at this wiring diagram. We've got our 480 coming in. And it's going to show that it branches off here and it goes to this starter labeled R. These open lines right here are actually the contacts inside of this starter. And I'm going to show you guys those here in a minute when I get this starter taken apart. So that's the high voltage side of the starter. And all these do is they just close and open. And all that does is that just allows that 480 to run either through there if it's closed, or if it's open, it stops right there. The other part of the starter is over here. Right here, we have a little symbol for a coil that's labeled R. And that's the coil for the starter. So inside this starter right here, there's a magnetic coil that when it's energized, it actually pulls those contacts together and holds them, allowing the 480 to run through the starter. All right, you can manually actuate this starter right here by simply pushing the button. And once I've got this front cover pulled off, I'll actually show you guys what that looks like internally. But then back here, we've got these wires right here. A1 and A2 of the starter, these are usually called. And that's the coil. So when we induce a current through this coil, it activates a magnetic field that's going to slam this starter closed and allow that 480 to flow. We take the voltage away from the coil, the current goes away, the coil demagnetizes, spring returns the starter back to open. So when you're looking at your wiring diagram, you've got your 480 side of that starter right here. And that's what actually opens and closes to allow voltage to flow to that motor or not. And then somewhere else on that drawing, you're going to have the coil circuit. And that's what's actually giving the command to that coil to energize and close those contacts, or to de-energize and open those contacts. And so hopefully if you're not tracking right now, hopefully here in a couple minutes when I get this starter torn apart, it'll make a little bit more sense to you. So I'm going to get these wires disconnected, get this cover off, and show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so now that we've actually got this apart, this was just sitting on there like that. So these contacts right here, you slam that starter together, that's what actually makes the contact and bridges that gap between the top and bottom of the starter. So you can see those are open, no contacts being made. We close them. We now have current flow through that starter. So this connection right here is what is being represented by this on the wiring diagram. Pretty simple, right? These are open, close. These are open or close, open, close, open. Okay, so that's that side of it. Now the other side of it, the coil side of it right here, is right back here. This is where the red and the white wires were connected. And on this particular model, to get this coil out, you just squeeze the tabs and pull. That whole piece lifts out. Now this center part here is actually the magnet. This outside plastic part here is the actual, that's the piece that induces the current and causes that to magnetize. So you can see with that sitting down behind, there, when that magnetizes, that pulls in, demagnetize, it pulls out. We're actually going to put new coils in. There's what the new one looks like. So yeah, it just pops off there and pops back on. The other thing, I got this Renew kit here. The other thing to know, so these are what the contacts look like, not on the starter, and then that's actually the bridge that makes contact between the top and bottom of that starter. But they have these funny looking things, and then this piece that actually holds the bridge on has those funny looking things. You can see them right here where they stick out. They stick out up here, and those, if you notice, the position of those actually correlates with these vents here on the starter. These are actually heat sinks that dissipate the heat to get it away from the contacts, to keep the contacts from wearing out too fast. If you see a starter in a cabinet sometime and somebody has placed a label or something over these vents, you will burn that starter up in no time, because that's the only mechanism that starter has to dissipate heat, is through those heat sinks and out those vents. So these contacts in here actually don't look too bad. There's a little bit of burning on them, but they're not horrible. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing put back together, and I will show you what this guy looks like once he's put back together. The other thing that shows up on these wiring diagrams, and I forgot to mention this earlier, so you'll see a set of contacts like this. In this case, this is a normally closed set of contacts, and it's labeled R, just like that starter's labeled R. And what that's telling you is that is a normally closed set of auxiliary contacts linked with that starter. And in this case, those auxiliary contacts are right here, and we are coming through the normally closed, the NC. They were normally open there in the back, they would be the NO. So these are normally closed, which means right now our starter is not engaged. There is continuity through these contacts. When the starter engages, you're going to see that white piece pull in. When that starter engages, we have now changed states of that auxiliary contact. Those contacts are now open. And like I said, I'm going to do a video on white delta one of these days, and we'll cover what all that does. But just know, you see that set of contacts on there that's got the same label as your starter. That's telling you that is an auxiliary contact along with that starter. Auxiliary contacts can be side mounted like this. Some manufacturers actually have them mounted on the front of the starter. So just know what you're looking for, and when you see them on the wiring diagram, just know, oh hey, that's telling me that's linked to that starter. So like I said, I'm gonna get this thing cleaned up, get the Renew kit put in, get the new coil put in, and I'll show you what that looks like when I'm done here. So I just wanted to show you guys what this looks like all taken apart. All the contacts are out of this now, and they actually were a little worse than I thought. burning on there. Good bit of burning on that one. Some of these bridge contacts kind of chewed up. And I know right now there's probably some old schoolers watching this being like, ah, you can polish that up and put them right back in, you'll be fine. The problem I have with that is that this is not a cast piece. This part that actually makes contact is fused here with this brass piece, or this copper piece, excuse me. So with all this arcing and burning in here, you can actually loosen that fusion, and you'll have some microscopic gaps and things in there that can cause some real problems. Even though this is nice and smooth, that heat can cause some damage in here that you can't see to that fuse there, and that can cause some real headaches. So in a bind, I don't mind cleaning these up and putting them back in to get the customer up and running with the intent that we're going to order either a renew kit or a whole new starter. So, and then same with your bridge pieces here. You can see that that's fused on there. That's not all one solid piece. So that heat can cause some damage in back behind that plate that you can't see. So, but there you have it. That's what we look like all torn apart. And like I said, I'll get this guy put back together and show you what's up.